Thank you all for being here. It's a pleasure to have you participate in county government. I call the Paulding County Board of Commissioners work session to order this 10th day of November 2022. And ask the marshal if you'll bring the list forward. If you have your phone on, a good time to turn it off. I might follow my own instructions there. Thank you. As is our tradition, we'll stand for prayer and the pledge. Who's that guy? Never see Brian stressed up. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we just bow humbly and reverently before you, thanking you for a new day that you've given us. Pray that we would use this day to your glory and your honor, and that we would try to have the wisdom in all the things that we look at. We thank you for our law enforcement, our whole staff, our department heads that work diligently for the citizens of this county. We pray all these things in Christ's name. Amen. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have some guests in the room, and so glad to have Tim Early here with Ride for Wishes. He'll be up to the podium here shortly, but glad to have you, Tim. Thank you for sharing some time with us today, along with your assistant there. I don't have her name, but all of y'all are very welcome. Elected officials, we got Sheriff Gullidge, and I don't see any others. So under the minutes, the October 25th, 2022 work session minutes and the October 25th, 2022 board meeting minutes are available for your review on the back table there. Under announcements, our Employee of the Month award was given out to Miss Carrie Fitzgerald over at the Sheriff's Office. We had a good time with it, and we're going to look at that right now.
Carrie's been with the Sheriff's Office, I believe, for around 2 years or so now, and she transferred over from the detention center into an admin role, a civilian role within our division, which is the Administrative Services Division, and she specifically is our admin assistant with the Office of Professional Standards. So Carrie does a wide variety of duties within the Office of Professional Standards. Specifically with me and what I do there with recruitment and backgrounds and things of that nature, she helps facilitate the enormous amounts of applications that we receive on any given day. She takes all that paperwork, processes it, organizes it, sets everything up for the first step of the hiring process, and I'll be honest, she has just been an absolute godsend since she started in her role in OPS. I got to know Carrie when she was in high school. When I was on the road, she actually rode along with me as part of a program she was doing in high school. And so I got to meet her then, and then for her to get hired on at the Sheriff's Office, it's just a really unique experience to see someone go from a high schooler to a young adult helping out an agency as great as the Sheriff's Office. You are very much deserving of this award. You go above and beyond your normal duties. You help me stay organized. I know you help Major Rich stay organized, and Sergeant Buckner. You, again, have just been a godsend to our division, and we are so appreciative of all your hard work. Keep it up. You're doing great, and we just love you.
Congratulations, Carrie. She's got a contagious smile, doesn't she? The Board of Commissioners would like to present the Public Safety Appreciation Award to Deputy Zachary Dubrell with the Sheriff's Office, and Sheriff Gullidge will tell us a little bit more about Officer Dubrell, and we've got a Public Safety Award here to give to him after Sheriff Gullidge finishes.
Dang, it looked like polished over. You look good, Brian. Take a second if y'all would allow me to congratulate Sandy, Virginia, and Brian on y'all's re-elections. Look forward to working with y'all another 4 years. Glad to have y'all on the board. It's always good to see y'all. I'm not sure who you are, but you look good this morning. Come on up, bro. If you would go stand in front of them and we won't knock you in the head too bad. I got a letter I'd like to read. This is, I introduce y'all to Deputy DeBrell. Major David Pace has nominated him for this award for the Commissioner's Public Safety Award for the actions that he done on September the 30th. Deputy DeBrell was conducting a traffic stop on Dallas-Atworth Highway, and while on this traffic stop, a black sport utility vehicle pulled up. The driver, a female, rolled down her window and screamed, "Help my baby, he's not breathing." A male subject then exited the vehicle from the passenger side and handed the deputy a juvenile male who was unconscious and not breathing. Deputy DeBrell walked to the front of his patrol car with the juvenile male and began doing CPR until fire rescue arrived on the scene. While conducting CPR, the juvenile started shallow breathing and sounded like he was choking. The juvenile was sweating profusely through his clothing and was hot to the touch. Before fire EMS personnel arrived on the scene, they were able to get a pulse back on the child. A medical professional later stated as a result of Deputy DeBrell's life-saving actions, the juvenile's life was prolonged. Watch the video, it's exactly what it is. He's standing there doing another job, and somebody says, "Here, fix my problem," and he went into action immediately. If he wants to say anything, I'll allow him to do so. I'm very proud of you and for the job you done. You make us all look good. Thanks to you, there's another baby that'll grow up and maybe be an old man like me someday. If y'all would join me and congratulate Deputy DeBrell for his life-saving. Want to say anything? Come over here. You have to do the microphone so they can hear you.
And Zachary DeBrell, I've got the honor of reading this Public Safety Award to you. It's awarded to Zachary DeBrell in recognition of outstanding service to his community, presented by the Paulding County Board of Commissioners this 10th day of November, 2022. We're also very proud of you. I didn't know about this till today, and we're just very blessed to have deputies like you with us. And don't leave us.
Thank you, sir. I mean, I ain't got much to say. I'll say exactly what I did when they gave me the award at the sheriff's office. It was by God's grace that I was on the side of the road conducting that traffic stop, and thanks to the training and experience that we get through the jail and basic law enforcement school, I was able to do what I was doing. But I had people praying in places I didn't know they were to help me that night. So thank y'all, though, very much.
You want to bring your bride and your girlfriend?
Yes, sir, that's my girlfriend.
And parents or any other family?
Y'all come on.
My sister is out today with a family issue.
Y'all come on up, we'll do a picture. Yeah.
So,
Also, I forgot to mention, I got a certificate here from Texas Roadhouse for a steak dinner for me and you to go. No, really, it's for you and probably a girlfriend. Yeah, I figured he'd eat.
y'all come over here in the center so you can allow the commissioners to take part here. Who all do you have here, Zachary?
My dad, my girlfriend Kelsey, my little sister, my mom.
Congratulations.
You're welcome.
It's the best part of the meetings. It gets kind of dull sometimes, but we got another good one here. Presentation to Tim Early, Chief Executive Officer of Make-A-Wish, Georgia, for the Paulding County Ride for Wishes event, which occurred a few weeks ago. So, Tim, thanks for being here. If you want to come forward at this time and make your presentation.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, I just have a couple of words to say. Tim, we appreciate you being here. This is the 5th annual event that we've had. And it's been very successful. This year, we're going to have a check presentation here in a few minutes of $11,056. We're over $60,000 for the entire events that we've done. And as of today, and we just adjusted this figure, there's been 15 wishes in Paulding County that have been granted. So if you can talk in just a minute about that, it would be great. I know we've got 20 wishes currently waiting in Paulding, but this event is employee-driven. This is the way that our employees give back to the children here in Paulding County. You want to talk a little bit about the program?
Yeah, absolutely. I just wanted to say we're thankful to be back here yet again to say thank you to Paulding County for continuing to support Make-A-Wish Georgia and local Wish Kids. The last couple of years have been really challenging for Make-A-Wish, but we've emerged from the pandemic stronger than we were when we went into it. In fact, granted more wishes than we ever have by far in the history of our chapter. And there are other chapters throughout our federation that honestly had to scale back, but we pressed ahead. In fact, we granted 468 wishes for children throughout the state of Georgia last year, including the 15 that were mentioned for kids right here in Paulding County. And we're able to do that because all of you. Because when Paulding County could have stepped back and it would have been an easy thing to do, you guys pushed ahead and you allowed us to grant those wishes. So thank you again on behalf of the organization, on behalf of local Wish Kids and their families everywhere. We really appreciate it. Thank you for what you do, and we'll hope to see you next year as well.
If I could also add, I think it's important to know that, this money is raised from sponsors. This is not taxpayer money. So I want to make sure that everyone knows that. This is sponsorships. It's the riders themselves, and a lot of times the riders, they pay more than the entry fee. They donate more. But we have some departments that actually get together and they provide support through donations themselves, and then other employees have done sponsorships. So I just want to make sure that everyone knows this is not coming from taxpayer money. This is actually coming from employees, and it's driven by sponsorships in the community. So we appreciate the ability to do that. So can we do a check presentation? I'd like to come around.
Introduce your right-hand person.
This is Sarah Burrell, who's been with Make-A-Wish Georgia for just under 4 months. But she was also the staff partner. Worked with Felicia and Frank to put this wonderful event together. So happy to have you here.
Thank you all very much. Appreciate it.
Mr. Chairman, I know it's a little awkward for me to be addressing the board, but I think that Jeff Harkins has a video that he's going to roll in at this point.
Perfect. I was wondering about that, but
This morning, we are at the 5th annual Paulding Rides for Wishes here in Paulding County. So we have over 20 pending wishes in Paulding County, so this ride this morning really just funds those 20 pending wishes and wish children that are waiting to go on their wishes. So the Simmons family that is coming this morning, Kyan had his wish granted this past August. They went to Disney World and he is doing great, and since his wish, he's just really, progressed and is very happy. Make-A-Wish Georgia to me just means giving children something that, not every child gets to have, especially when they're, in this very difficult stage of life and a hard season of life. It's just a little something that we can give and this community can give to just keep them fighting, encourage them, and help them in just a little way that we can on their big journey that they're facing. Thank you to Paulding County and everybody that's here riding this morning. Your support really means the world to us, and for all of our Wish Kids, you're really giving them hope, strength, joy, happiness back in their lives, so we couldn't do it without you. So thank you.
good job, public information team, Tim Harkins and your team. I love that drone footage and all the other footage you added in there. That added a lot to the whole presentation. I have no invited guests this morning under bid awards. The first one, item number 2, is to award the contract for P25 emergency radio systems, including the system build-out price and the warranty support in the amount of $39,832,078. This will be used or funded by SPLOST funds, and Ms. Pollard and David Mumford are available for briefing and to enlighten us a little bit more.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So I also have with me Clay Whitehead with Motorola and Jeff McNully.
Jeff McNally.
I got it right, from TUSA. They're going to speak for a couple of minutes on this. So this is the bid award for Motorola Systems to contract to build out a public safety P25 radio system. Several months ago, we issued a RFP for TUSA for a consultant to help us with this process. TUSA won that contract. They drafted an RFP. It was published by the county. And in response to that RFP, we received 3 proposals. We received Motorola Solutions, JVC Kenwood, and then Eastern Communications, who represented I3 Harris. The proposals were evaluated by TUSA, completely independent of any county employee. They have their own proprietary evaluation system. They evaluated the proposals, and then they made the recommendation that Motorola Solutions be awarded the contract. The radio board looked at their recommendation and the proposals, and we agreed that Motorola should be awarded the contract. Not only were they the lowest bid, they built out the most, or designed the most, the system would be the most responsive and the most beneficial for the county for our needs. The next lowest bid came in at just a little over $6 million higher than Motorola. So, you know, there was a significant difference in the amounts of the bids. The proposed system warranty and post-warranty support, it meets, and in most cases it exceeds the requirements in our RFP. So it's a very robust system. Our current system is end of life. We have to replace it. We have no choice but to replace the system. We can't, spare parts are getting difficult to find, and we can no longer buy radios for that system. So we're having to use the radios that we have, get those repaired and stuff. One of the highlights of Motorola's contract was that they are going to keep our current system. It's also a Motorola system. They're going to keep that system functioning until the new system is in service. So that was one of the big benefits that we received by going with Motorola. And Clay is going to speak a little bit to the system design, but the system designed to increase our coverage area throughout the county and even outside of the county. We have a 2-mile range outside the county that we will remain on our system. And then once we get the user agreements in place, we can roam throughout Metro Atlanta on other P25 radio systems. So this brings us to interoperability, being able to talk to our neighbors, and during mutual aid situations, we can interoperate with agencies surrounding us. Right now, we're the only county that does not have this type of radio system. All the others around us do, so that'll bring us in line with all the other public safety agencies. Another big beneficiary of this system, and they're a partner in this, is the school board. And this allow us to put radios in the buses. And when they travel to events outside the county, they have communications wherever the same type of communications that law enforcement and fire have. So the school board is a big partner in this project with us. And I guess at this point, if you want to come up and talk about the selection process, we're going to a little bit of how we selected Motorola, and then Motorola will come up and present their system design.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So in the selection process, what TUSA does is once we get the proposals back for the RFP that was issued, we look at those proposals, we look at the technical aspect first. And the reason why we do this is if a vendor does not meet all the technical requirements and they're not qualified, then we do not even look at pricing. We just basically remove that vendor from the proposals. On the technical scoring, we have a very detailed worksheet that we go through, and we look at every part of the RFP, and we grade the vendor on every part of that RFP, every line item in that RFP. So when David said there was a lot of exceeds, those exceeds came from what we required, and Motorola met and went beyond on those requirements. So then once we have the technical part scored, we give that a overall weight of 70%. So 70% of the scoring is the technical. And that's to make sure you get a system that is technically compliant, that does what you need, and is based on performance over cost. So the second thing we do is once we have scored the technical requirements, we'll open up the pricing requirements. Then we take all that pricing, we break it down, we analyze it, we make it equivalent between all the vendors. And what that does is it gives us an overall score for pricing. That becomes 30% of the overall score. So we take the 70% and 30% of the technical and the pricing, we put that together, and then the vendor that has the best score is the vendor that we recommend for that project. So it's a very very methodical way to analyze it without any influence on scoring or influence on pricing compared to the technical aspects of the system.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you, folks, for hospitality here today, Chairman, Commissioners, Mr. Baker, Mr. Phillips. Very glad to be here today. Want to give you folks an overview. First, let me ask you a question. Are you able to see the slides on your screens? Okay, great, because I can't see your screens. So I'm going to do a high-level overview of what the system is going to provide to the county here. So in the process, Jeff talked about how they evaluate the responses from the vendors. As a vendor responding to the RFP, this was a very thorough end-to-end analysis of your public safety, public works, school board requirements, and what they need to successfully do their job from a radio communications perspective every day. So we looked at the system and the RFP in terms of what are the design goals we've got to achieve to be technically compliant, and where can we exceed on some of these requirements and provide additional value without necessarily adding additional costs. So one of the key areas for this system is we had to provide countywide coverage through all your neighborhoods, your streets, and even 2 miles beyond for a patrol officer in a car if they have to leave the county, or even a firefighter with a handheld radio. Any of your public safety officers, firefighters, public works personnel that carry a radio, use a radio, and depend on that radio, we had to provide countywide coverage and beyond up to 2 miles. And then we made additional enhancements to get improved in-building coverage in all the critical buildings that the county listed. As you folks know better than I do, you're a growing county. You're growing in terms of commercial properties, you're growing in terms of new neighborhoods and residences. So this is going to assist you for the next several decades in terms of meeting that growth and providing the coverage your public safety folks are going to need throughout. David touched on the interoperability. So this is a technology that's built to a set of standards that other vendors, including Motorola, all build and design to. And we have to prove that our equipment is compliant to those standards. What it means for the county and for your first responders is their equipment will be interoperable with other agencies, whether they have a Motorola system or another vendor system. So that's key in an interoperability system, in a radio system, when you're trying to not just communicate better inside the county across agency lines, but also communicate better across county lines. This is a network that is very robust. It's a high availability system. It has no single points of failure built into it. It has redundancies where it needs redundancies to make sure that the system remains operational even during the worst type of scenario, whether it's a tornado or any other type of event that could be potentially a catastrophe from other perspectives, but maintaining operation and keeping your public safety personnel safe. There was a requirement for a 15-year support plan. So we can't just plug it in and leave it running for 15 years and not touch it. There has to be ongoing maintenance and paying attention to the operation of the system. We will take care of that throughout the 15-year period. We're bringing in the A-team to implement this system. We have folks that are local, that are engineers, project managers, service personnel, people who would do the installation. It's all a local experienced team that has put many of these systems in place before. And then the devices themselves. I have a slide and a couple of slides here that shows some examples of the devices, but public safety puts a lot of demands on their products, and that's not a bad thing. It's just the environment that they work in. So the devices that they depend on have to be rugged. So these are not typical cell phone devices like an iPhone. They are made to last and withstand the worst type of conditions that they could have to endure. So let's take a real quick look at a high-level view of the system itself. So we're intending to build out 12 sites. We're reusing 3 existing sites in the county, but we're building 9 new towers to support the radio coverage that's needed. And you can see, I'll walk you around the diagram here on the screen. You can see the 12 sites that are labeled. It also ties in your 911 center. All right, everything is tied together via microwave, which is basically a point-to-point two-way communications link. And this routes the audio out to all the tower sites and brings it back into your 911 center, where your telecommunicators, your dispatchers can receive that audio, they can talk to officers in the field, they can listen to the fireground scene. All that audio also has to be recorded in your dispatch center. That's part of the overall solution as well. Every channel in the system can support encryption if it needs to. You obviously have, within law enforcement and other disciplines, you have a need for protecting sensitive communications in certain scenarios. Your law enforcement personnel know what those are. Their radios, your system would be capable of encrypting that voice communication so the people who are supposed to hear those conversations can, and the people who are not supposed to hear it will not be able to. You have the ability to track the location of your mobile assets. You can track patrol cars. You can track the location of fire apparatus. This is very beneficial to helping maintain your ISO rating for within the county, so that you know where your personnel are, you know which ones are the closest ones to the response. That ties into your 911 center operation and helps make that operation more efficient. We already talked about the microwave. Every site is being deployed with video surveillance and security. You're obviously investing a lot of money in the system. We want to make sure that you have a view 24 hours a day of the equipment at that site, so that if there's a breach in the compound, somebody gets into the compound that's not supposed to be there, you can dispatch an officer to the scene right away. And the entire infrastructure is being provided with a 3-year warranty. Now, just want to touch on something on coverage very quickly. This is probably 50% of the system right here. The effort to design it, the effort to implement it with the towers. This is where we're providing to your public safety personnel a safer operating environment, because we're expanding beyond the coverage that they have today. We're giving you more signal to get into the buildings in the county that are in place today and that will be built out in the county over the next 10 to 15 years. All of this goes to when a firefighter goes into the hazard zone, goes into a burning building, he or she has better radio coverage. When a law enforcement officer has to go serve an arrest warrant and has to go into an apartment complex, they have better radio coverage, and they have the confidence in that technology that it will be there to support them. And here's a quick view of what those ruggedized devices look like. And we have a model and a form factor for every type of discipline, right? Whether it's law enforcement and the stresses they put on the radio, the fire radios are built to withstand higher temperature. So everything is geared toward the specific job and the specific discipline and how they use the radio itself. And each of the radios that we're providing, the handheld radios and the radios that are mounted in the vehicle, come with a 5-year warranty. Any questions?
Great brief.
Thank you.
I appreciate all that you did, not only here, but also I just want to let the public know we don't spend $39 million without thinking about it a little bit more than a 5-minute presentation.
Yes, ma'am, understood.
And I understand that you're doing this for the public as well, because we've already seen this. But I did have a question that I didn't ask before, and I noticed you've got a tower on Hiram Sudi and nothing south of that. So is that tower on Hiram Sudi in the southeastern part of the county, is that going to be sufficient to reach all the way down and past the Douglas County line in that area? Because that's, and let's say that there were buildings put there at some point that were like the, heavy brick and cement and that kind of thing, buildings that would reach inside those buildings all the way down to that county line?
Yes, ma'am. We had to design not just for portable coverage outside the county up to 2 miles, but we also had to design for building coverage inside the county line as well.
Okay.
So that will be part of the performance testing that we'll have to demonstrate to you folks as part of the final acceptance when everything's built out. Before we cut over and put your public safety personnel, we have to prove that it meets the coverage that we have shown you in the coverage maps and how it's stated in the proposal.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. You're welcome.
And like Virginia said, you gave us a lot of information in the room across the hall, a couple hours worth. How about the training piece? You get involved with our 911 and our SO?
Yes, sir. So every telecommunicator, I believe that's what the job title is for, I would call it a dispatcher, some folks call it a telecommunicator. Every one of your telecommunicators will be trained on the new dispatch console, so they'll know how that works and how they communicate with the radio system and the new features. There'll be administrative training for, I believe you're taking administrative training? Okay, so there'll be administrative training for some of the management functions of the system, for being able to generate reports on how the system's performing and things like that. And then there's end-user training for the devices themselves. So all your public safety personnel, your firefighters, sheriff's department, marshal, schools, emergency management, every agency that has personnel that are getting a radio will get training on how to operate that radio.
Other questions?
Yes. Once you guys get started, how long will it take for us to actually be online?
So there's a requirement for an 18-month project schedule after notice to proceed. So once we're all in agreement that everything is good to go, we have 18 months from that point.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
And Tabitha, are you gonna be talking about how it's gonna be paid for and stuff like that? Okay. Because it is a hard pill to swallow. We've been in meetings for a few years now discussing this one item, and it's from the first time to now, it's hard to swallow, but it was really hard to swallow the first time. But, by speaking with public safety from the sheriff and the chief, and seeing what they go through, and, for the citizens of Paulding County, I mean, you can't put a price on safety of someone's life, so this is very important, so. But it is very hard to explain in 5 minutes.
Yeah. Another point that's not one of your slides in this presentation that really got my attention was Paulding County is right in the middle of maybe 15 counties, and we're the only county that doesn't have this. It's kind of an awakening there that we're behind. Any other questions?
All right, well, thank you, folks, for putting your faith in us. We appreciate it greatly. I'm honored to be here today. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. The only thing that I have to add is that this project has been probably ongoing for about 10 years. We've been working on it for the last 10 years, trying to get to this point. And it's not just been my input. We have a radio board, and we've had input from the sheriff's department, fire department, marshals, Hiram Police Department, DOT is part of this system. The school board is a big part of this system. IT has had input, so we've all worked together to develop this. and to get us to the point that we are today. So, of course, our recommendation is that we award the contract to Motorola to build out the system. So.
Thank you, David. Thank you, the whole team, for coming today. Well, the second bid award is actually item number 3, which is discuss action to award Woodrow K. Culvert Replacement Project to the low bidder Summit Construction and Development, LLC, in the amount of $362,550. General funds will be used for this project located in Post 2. George Jones.
Morning. Paulding County Finance Department advertised the DOT's contract known as the Woodrow K. Culvert Replacement Project. This is located in Post 2 between address points 931 and 1069. Project consists of replacing 3 rotted out 60-inch metal culverts with an aluminum arch culvert structure. The bids were open for this project on October 14th. DOT reviewed the 3 bids submitted and recommends award to the lowest responsive bidder, Summit Construction and Development, in the amount of $362,550. This bid was over the original engineer's estimate by 10%. However, that the line item pricing is kind of keeping with the current market rates that we're seeing right now for construction prices. And this bid was 46% lower than the next lowest bid. As you said, funding with this project will be allocated from general funds. Arch culverts, they provide an increased flow. In this case, this arch culvert's wider than the active channel, so it'll accommodate the 100-year flow, and basically we'll have less maintenance of these type of structures. This structure in particular due to there'll be less blockage compared to multiple barrel culverts. We performed multiple arch culvert projects in the past in the county with good results, and in summation, DOT and Finance recommend the board consider awarding this project to Summit Construction and Development in the amount of $362,550.
George, it always amazes me when you see 3 bids and we're awarding it to Summit at $362,000 and change, and the next highest is $531,000.
Yes.
It's like, why is there such a big gap? You just briefed it at 40%.
Yes. I can't speak in this particular case definitively. I'll just give you my opinion. We're seeing a lot of contractors who are busy right now. I think contractors are giving you a price that they're not really hungry for this work, but they'll take it if you'll give it. So they throw you a price out there, and they're going to make a pretty good amount of money on it. Summit, they've done work for the county before with these structures, so I think they know what we're looking for. They've done these projects, so I think that kind of gives them an idea. They can probably provide a bid that's a little bit sharper, but that's my opinion.
Any other comments, questions? Thank you, George.
Thank you.
We move on to reports from committees and departments. Pleasure to have Sheriff Gary Gullidge to bring us an office update, and we get to see him at the lectern twice today. So, thank you, Gary.
Thank y'all again for allowing me to do this. Had a long meeting today, so I'll make mine short and sweet and let Brian get out of here. The Sheriff's Office reports from January to October 2022. During this time frame, we patrolled 2,260,508 miles. Total number arrested was 1,826. We've answered 42,357 complaints, conducted 4,460 traffic stops, 1,437 traffic citations was issued. Our high volume calls for this time period was 3,865 alarms, 4,238 domestics. We served 5,952 subpoenas and civil papers, conducted 4,528 transports. We had 6,924 suspicious incidents with persons or vehicles, 122 burglaries. We've had 896 theft by takings and entering autos, arrested 53 DUIs. We had 3,727 warrants cleared, 287 zone patrols added, and we had 1,330 juvenile incident reports, and 484 juveniles were charged. That's the high point of it. I give all of y'all a book with all the total numbers in it. As always, if you get any questions, I'm sure y'all all got my cell phone number and know how to find me. I'm easy to find, so thank y'all for your time. And also on the radio system, if you don't mind me saying, I would like to say that with with all the current radio systems we've ever had in the past, if there's ever any kind of maintenance thing done on it, every radio has to go to a shop and be touched by a person. And my understanding is with this new system is all these upgrades can be done via Bluetooth or over the airways, and we don't have to take it in the cars. And it's a lot of downtime for us, and it's a lot of mileage, and it's really a pain. So when they said that all the maintenance upgrades on these things will be done via airways, I thought that will save us a whole bunch of change. But thank y'all for the support. I know this radio system's like Brian said, it's a hard pill to swallow. It is for me too. But when you're either out there or you hear your guys out there and they're asking for help or trying to ask for help, and all you hear is crickets, it's not a good thing. And at that point, there's no amount of money that would there's no amount of money when you tell somebody that it's not, their life's not worth it. So thank y'all for listening to us on this, and thank you for doing it. And thank citizens for passing the supply so we can pay for it.
Taking advantage of your being here, as far as open positions, you comment on that for us?
We're down to, I looked at the numbers this morning, but last week we're gonna be somewhere in the high 50s, I'm sorry. So, we're continuously looking for good applicants, and as you've seen with Carrie, she does a good job over going through her applications. We're getting a lot of applications, just some of them don't meet the criteria, and we'll hire a few and lose a few. It's just the nature of the beast. So it's a tough time right now to hire qualified individuals.
I don't think I've driven through a county that didn't have a advertisement, a sign.
We do. We put up signs, and we're doing billboards. We're doing social media ads. It's a tough time statewide right now for hiring law enforcement officers. It just is. It's the nature of the beast. But we hope it'll get better. I've seen it on both ends, and it's a lot nicer when you're having to turn people away than it is out looking for them and beating the bushes and trying to get them. So everybody's got the same issues we have.
Thank you, sir.
My pleasure.
We don't have anybody that signed up from the public on agenda items under the consent agenda. Consideration of these items. Item 4 is to approve action to transition current deferred compensation plan from AIG VALIC to ACCG. And Ms. Palmer is the expert on that. The next item is item number 5, to authorize the chairman to execute an interparcel access easement agreement allowing for a motor vehicle driveway to serve one single-family residence to Landshark Investments, LLC, through a county detention lot to have access to Boulder View Parkway located in the Georgian Park subdivision in Post 2. Mr. Jones is the expert on that one. So I would ask the commissioners now if you'd like to move either of these two consent agenda items to a regular business. Hearing no affirmative response, we'll leave them right there in the consent agenda and move on. Old business, none. New business, item 6 is to discuss action to award the Phase 3 portion of the radio system consulting services to TUSA in the amount of $360,835. SPLOST funds will be used for this project. And Mr. David Mumford is going to share with us about that.
TUSA is the consulting firm that we contracted with for the radio system project. We awarded the initial evaluation and RFP services in a separate contract earlier, and we waited until we had made a selection, until they had made a recommendation, and we had selected a vendor for the radio system before we awarded the implementation phase. And so TUSA will contract with us to manage the entire implementation phase from the beginning till the end until we're live, including the acceptance testing and everything in between. They'll make on-site visits they have engineers that are, they come out and make sure that the concrete's poured properly and that everything is where it should be, that Motorola is doing their job and the subcontractors are doing their job. This is a very technical radio system, a very technical project, and they're experts at that, and we've been very impressed with the services they provided so far. So we recommend that we award to TUSA and continue their services through implementation.
Any questions for Mr. Mumford on this one? Thank you, sir. Item 7 is discuss action to commit 10% of system price portion of the radio system contract within the fund balance as a contingency until the project construction is complete. This will come from the general funds also. Ms. Pollard.
Now for the fun part. How are we going to pay for this project? So if it's okay, I'll just take just a minute and touch on the plan for funding this, as it is important to understand that in discussing 7 and 8. So first off, I think I'd be remiss if I didn't thank the citizens for the SPOS vote yesterday. I think on behalf of all of staff, we all see the benefit of SPOS, and it allows us to take that penny that's collected and be able to make capital improvements throughout the county, which hopefully benefit every single citizen in this county in the areas of roads, public safety, recreation, some fiber economic development, and then the cities as well have their capital projects on that list. So this is the first one. It is a little easier to tell you how we're going to pay for it because it is a SPOS funded project. It's a large portion of that program that was approved by the voters on Tuesday for us to use that funding for this. We will spend a lot of the money up front. So there's two components. One, this number 7 will set aside 10% of the construction project. So it's about $28 million. So it'll set aside $2,800,000 until the project is complete. In the current fund balance several years ago, if we were going to issue debt for a project, which I'll talk about that in just a second, that this is in no way insinuating that we're issuing debt for this project, but if a project of this large, I think, needs to be some contingency set aside for it in the event that something goes wrong. And in some of our larger projects, we've had one location. This project, as they mentioned, has 9 different tower sites. You can encounter all kinds of unforeseen issues in 9 different sites throughout the county. So what our fund balance policy was amended in 2017, I believe, to add, and I'm just going to read it, this piece. It says, capital projects funded with bond or loan proceeds, capital projects constructed with bond or loan proceeds should restrict fund balance in an amount not less than 5% of the amount of bond sale, loans issued, or grants received that are to be used to construct the project. This 5% amount of fund balance is to remain committed contingency until the projects are complete and operational. So what we're saying is instead of 5%, we're going to reserve 10 to be, it's just a safe measure. It's not to say that you can't come back and release it at some point over the life of the construction if you don't see you're going to need it. But in the beginning, it's safety. And on your balance sheet, it'll take your fund balance and it'll allow, it'll set aside $2.8 million in the event that you have an incident occur. It does not allow anybody to spend the money. So we would have to bring it back to you if we had a change order, or if we had something that we encountered, we'd have to bring it back to you to be able to utilize that money. So we don't, it doesn't give us access to it, to use it without approval. Funding of it, as I mentioned, we're not issuing debt. The next one is a precautionary measure as well. We are very fortunate right now to have a fund balance that will allow us to reduce the amount of financing that we have to incur, and thus reduces the interest that we have to pay. So we're going to start this process, and we are going to hopefully pay as you go, as that's the plan for the entire project. However, knowing that we may get into a situation that requires us to change course just a little bit because this is a large project. So, that being said, what we want to do today is to reserve 10% of the cost of our fund balance, just in case we have a something arise an unforeseen situation with a project of this size. And then number 8, you want to read number 8 and then I can discuss it, or you want me? Is it okay if I just go ahead and discuss it because they kind of go hand in hand?
Let me insert. The reading here is number 8 is discuss action to adopt resolution 22-39 authorizing reimbursement of expenditures should tax exempt financing be utilized for all or a portion of financing of this radio system project.
Okay, so again, I had a Plan A and a Plan B. We're very fortunate we have SPLOST. Thank you, citizens, very much. But, so hopefully Plan A is the plan, but Plan B does include a little financing. And so what this allows us to do is to go back and reimburse ourselves for something that we've spent on the project. If you don't do that, you can't do it. You can't borrow for something that you've already paid. Again, not really any intention. This is not authorizing anything. That would have to come back to you. This is just precautionary. This is just a safe haven for financing of something this size. Do y'all have any questions?
Well, I would certainly underscore 100 times what you said about SPLOST, and as I think most people in this room know, no employees are able to promote SPLOST, so an outside committee that did a lot of work on it. You throw out a number that 1 month would generate in that using that 1 penny?
That 1 penny generates for this. If I give you a number, it's going to be a little bit off, but it's about $2.5 million.
About $2.5 million a month.
Mm-hmm.
So you mentioned pay as you go, so that's very, very important. I think everybody, either in the room or listening, could see how valuable that is to getting this public safety improvement, law enforcement improvement, fire improvement in place. And without that positive vote, it'd be very trying. Thank you. New business number 9 is discuss action to authorize the chairman to authorize a professional service agreement with Heath & Lineback Engineers Incorporated for continuing supportive engineering services at a rate of $114.50 per hour, not to exceed $65,000. This agreement will be funded through the general funds. Mr. George Jones.
The Department of Transportation Engineering Division is continuing to experience a high volume of workload with multiple engineering tasks occurring simultaneously. Right now, the Engineering Division has 2 vacancies, the Engineering Division Manager and a Pre-Construction Manager. In addition, another Pre-Construction Engineer has been deployed for active duty for over a year, and their orders are being extended for another year, leaving the Engineering Division at 25% of its capability at this point in time. The workload is expected to remain constant in the near future with multiple in-house design, consultant management, development review, and stormwater projects occurring, and we simply need engineering expertise to keep up with the demand that the DOT is experiencing. Heath & Lineback Engineers is a local design firm that has worked directly with the DOT on several consultant design projects and also provided on-call engineering basis for many years. For the past year, Heath & Lineback has provided supportive engineering services to DOT. The supportive engineering services provided by Heath & Lineback had the approved funding in year 2021 is close to being expended, and to continue this effort, we've requested Heath & Lineback provide an updated proposal to supplement the in-house engineers for the Department of Transportation. Heath & Lineback will provide a roadway design engineer at 4-month intervals to provide engineering support to DOT. So we're requesting that the board consider, again, providing this engineer for a 4-month interval to supplement our staff, and thank you for your consideration.
George, on the Woodrow K. culvert replacement and this one. No SPOS funds for that? Can we not use SPOS funds?
You can. Typically, when it comes to maintenance projects, we prefer to use general funds again. We'd like to use SPOS funds for improvements, additions, upgrades, that type of thing. This here, I think, again, because it's essentially kind of basically doing the duties of a day-to-day normal basis, continue our workload, I thought it was more appropriate to put into a general fund item.
Gotcha. Thank you for explaining that.
Certainly.
I have a question on this item 9. The $65,000, what is the time period on this? Is it 4 months? Is that what I understand, or?
Yeah, it'll last approximately 4 months. It may go a little bit longer, but yes, they provide an engineer at 4-month intervals. Hopefully during that meantime, we can attract some folks to come work here, essentially. But we're looking for, like the sheriff, qualified individuals for these jobs.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones.
Thank you.
And rounding out with item number 10 on new business is action to approve a change order to increase the Garney construction contract, part of the landfill Phase 1 cover installation project, by $95,998.88, making the new contract a total of $1,329,000. Let me just read the whole price over again. The contract totaling $1,329,739.88. This project is located in Post 4. Ms. Lippman to report.
Thank you, and good morning, everyone. I am reporting on this. This is a project at the landfill, and it has been a project overseen by our county engineer, Bruce Coyle, who is also here to answer any technical questions. But since Bruce is a member of community development, I'm giving you an overview of this. This is a action to request to approve change orders. There's actually 7 change orders and 1 reconciliation or credit, getting to that total number of $95,000. The biggest changes required that necessitated these change orders was that when we bid the project out, we used 2005 aerial photography surveys for the plans, and adjustments had to be made once they got out into the field. The credit was due to, I think we overestimated the amount of geosynthetic clay liner that we needed, so we got about a $70,000 credit. So this total change orders is the $95,988.88. And either myself or Bruce will be happy to answer any technical questions. And this will be funded through the general fund.
Any questions? Thank you very much, Ann. That is the conclusion of regular business. None of the public has signed up for non-agenda items. This is the time for comments from the commissioners or the county manager. I'm going to call on the county manager, Frank Baker, first for his comment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wanted to talk briefly about consent agenda item number 4. Since it's on consent, there was really no discussion, but I just want to point out that like the radio system, that was a project that's gone on for a while, not quite as long as the radio system, of course, but there was a lot of effort put into looking at that issue, and want to thank Commissioner Caker for her involvement with that. She had worked with staff and with HR and myself a lot on that. I want to thank Tara Palmer. She's in the audience, and she spent a lot of time with that, and I appreciate ACCG being here this morning too. But thank you, Commissioner Caker. You spent a lot of time on that project, and the employees and the staff really appreciate that.
Thank you, Frank. Any other announcements, celebrations?
I got a local business here and asked me to talk about a grand opening they have this coming Saturday, the 12th, from 10 to 2. It's a grand opening of the West Metro Driving School. It's located at 4618 East Paulding Drive. So they're going to have free food, touch a truck, and inflatables. So You can come, look at a truck, eat, jump, and don't get sick, hopefully. But like I said, that's this Saturday from 10 to 2. It's right behind the Walmart off of East 120, up East Paulding Drive over there on the left.
I hope they jump first. Then eat. I just wanted to, I think it would be appropriate to really congratulate our elections team for an awesome job that they did in this election. And I spent a lot of time at polling places outside and got a lot of interaction with people coming and going. And so many people stopped in and said, what a great job they did, and how nice all our election people were. And I put out a couple of social media posts saying, be nice to our polling people, because they had gotten a little bit of heat over the last cycle or so. And anyway, but I was glad to hear that people were just really delighted with the experience. And so I think Deidre and her entire team really deserve some recognition for a job very well done. I know they're not quite done yet. We got some runoffs, but we really appreciate the job that they've done so far.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to thank Sheriff Gullidge and Chief Pelfrey, David Mumford, and the TUSA team. That the expense of the P25 upgrade, that system, it's been just, I know we've talked about it for over a year. Behind the scenes, those guys have met with us several times, given us a lot of their time, and answered many, many technical questions. I appreciate you guys' willingness to give us the time to educate us, give us the answer all the questions we had. $39 million is a lot of money, and we just want to be sure we're dotting the I's and crossing the T's before we make a decision. So thank you guys.
Well, if you've walked around, it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas, but we can celebrate Thanksgiving before. But Rebecca, who do we thank for putting out all the decorations and the tree? And I think we're going to light the Veterans tree maybe tonight.
Yes, the Building Maintenance Department and the Parks and Recreation Department decorated the campus for us, and the Veterans tree will be plugged in tonight.
Thanks to all those departments. And Motorola, you really stand out when you stay for the whole meeting. Most people brief and leave. So glad to have you with us. Okay. I won't tell you what the attorney said. All right, that's it for today.
I've got an announcement.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You left me out. This Friday in Veterans Park, we will have a veterans ceremony. It starts at 11, so please, please come out and show your support for our veterans. They deserve it.
Thank you, Sandy. We're done, so I'll entertain a motion to adjourn if y'all think we're done.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by Commissioner Cakers. Or second? Second by Commissioner Dunn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We stand adjourned.